It feels like the world is more chaotic than ever, right? But what does the landscape of global conflict actually look like? So let's break it down. We're going to dig into where the world's major wars are, how experts decide which ones to really watch, and how a crisis in one corner of the globe can send ripples that reach every single one of us. To really get a handle on this, let's start with a really simple but very revealing question. It's just a number, but it helps frame the sheer scale of what we're talking about globally.
The answer is 8. According to the data, there are 8 major wars happening right now. And what that means? Well, it's pretty sobering. A major war is a conflict with 10,000 or more combat-related deaths in the last year alone.
Okay, so we have our number, 8. But a number by itself, it doesn't really tell you the whole story. To truly grasp what's going on, we need to know where these conflicts are and what they represent for the state of the world today.
And when you look at where these are, wow, they literally span the entire globe. You've got the Russo-Ukrainian war in Europe, the Mexican drug war right in North America, and so many devastating conflicts across Africa and Asia. The geographic spread is just vast. And the human cost, well, it's just staggering. We're talking cumulative fatalities in the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, even millions.
So that's a lot to deal with, right? And it raises a huge question. With all these crises happening at once, how do policymakers even begin to decide where to focus their attention? Because they can't be everywhere at once.
Well, to figure that out, let's look at how the pros do it. We're going to dive into some analysis from the Council on Foreign Relations, which pinpoints the conflicts they believe pose the biggest risk to global stability in the coming year.
And what they've come up with is this list of Tier I threats. Now, Tier I is basically a way of saying these are the big ones, the ones that are not only likely to happen or get worse, but could also have a huge impact on all of us. And what's really striking is how different they are. You've got everything from a massive conventional war in Ukraine to flashpoints in the Middle East, and even a conflict that happens entirely online. And just to be clear, we're not talking about abstract ideas on a spreadsheet. These are real, kinetic events happening right now. This is what a Tier 1 risk looks like when it ignites. Missiles lighting up a skyline, armored vehicles rolling down city streets.
Okay, so let's pick one of these Tier I risks and really zoom in. We're going to look at the conflict involving Iran and see how a crisis like this unfolds in real time and how it can affect literally everyone through the global economy.
Get this. On March 4th of this year, just 5 vessels crossed the Strait of Hormuz. 5. This is one of the busiest, most important shipping lanes on the entire planet for energy, and threats brought traffic to a virtual standstill. And the ripple effect was immediate. We're talking 87 ships had to completely change course and take the super long, super expensive route all the way around Africa. That right there shows you how a problem in one tiny little strait can throw a massive wrench into global trade. And this is where things get really fascinating and kinda scary. This isn't just about ships and missiles anymore. It's about weaponizing technology. We're seeing this thing called AIS disruption. Basically, they're jamming or spoofing a ship's ID system. So one minute a ship is there, the next it's gone from the map, or it looks like it's sailing on dry land. It creates absolute chaos. And that chaos at sea, it doesn't stay at sea. It hits the ports hard. At Jebel Ali, late departures shot up 38%. But look at Khalifa Port. They jumped an incredible 326% above normal. That's how a regional conflict becomes a global logistics nightmare, almost overnight. So, we've talked about geopolitics, naval strategy, economic data, but behind all of that, there's always the human story. The Gulf crisis shows us the economic side of things, but there's another face to war that's much more up close and brutal. And to see that side, let's go back to our list of 8 major wars and look at Myanmar. This is where we see what conflict really looks like for the people on the ground, in a place where the idea of a safe zone has just been completely erased. I mean, look at what human rights reports are telling us. This is a systematic campaign of terror. The targets are not military bases. They're schools, hospitals, churches, even the places where people have fled to escape the violence. It's a deliberate attack on the very fabric of society. And here's just one example, and it's just horrific. In January, an airstrike hit a funeral ceremony. A funeral. 22 people who were just there to mourn were killed. This isn't an accident. This is the strategy. So we have gone from a single number to the global economy all the way down to the human toll. Let's take a step back and connect all these dots, because they really do paint a single interconnected picture. It's kind of like a funnel, right?
We started super wide with the big picture, those 8 major wars happening right now. Then we narrowed it down to see how policymakers have to pick their priorities, the Tier 1 risks. From there, we zoomed in even more to see the mechanics of a live crisis in the Gulf. And finally, we landed at the very point of the funnel, the undeniable, devastating human cost in a place like Myanmar.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that no conflict today happens in a bubble. Everything is connected. A high-tech naval threat in the Strait of Hormuz creates real economic problems for you and me. An atrocity in a country halfway around the world puts the entire world's commitment to human rights on trial.
And that really leaves us with one final, sobering thought. In this new era of conflict, we're all vulnerable. It's not a question of if these things will affect us anymore. It's a question of how and when. So, which one of these ripple effects do you think will reach you first?